The Delimitation Bill has been defeated in Parliament, but that doesn't mean the government will not introduce it at a later stage. We need to know why there was such a strong opposition to the bill, which is why it's important to understand how it would redraw India's political map. And this time, it could have changed who holds power in Parliament for decades to come. In just one move, the number of MPs would have jumped from 543 to 850. But this is not just about adding more seats, it's about redistribution of power between states and even between the two houses of Parliament. The Delimitation Bill says the exercise will be done according to the census. Home Minister Amit Shah even reassured Parliament that southern states won't suffer. He gave a breakdown of numbers of how seats will be drawn. But this is just a verbal assurance, not written into the law. If the government was going to rely on the census, why didn't they draft the bill according to Amit Shah's assurance? And why is the Telugu Desam Party or the TDP just okay with a verbal assurance? Remember, this is the same party that moved a no confidence motion in 2018 after the Modi government did not fulfill its assurance of giving AP a special package. Now the real question is not just how many seats are added, it's this: who gains power, who quietly loses it, and what happens to the balance of power in Parliament itself. Let me explain. First, let me preface, all of this can feel very technical, and it's hardly a dinner table conversation, but it probably should be, because decisions like delimitation quietly decides who gets more say in this country and how that power is exercised. At the News Minute, we try to make sense of this clearly and carefully, breaking down policy, questioning power, and looking at what decisions like these actually mean for states and people. But that work is possible only with your support. So consider subscribing to the News Minute, because informed citizens need informed journalism. And it helps us keep doing this kind of work consistently and independently. So you know the drill. Scan the QR code and subscribe to the News Minute and News Laundry. So here's what's happening. The union government has introduced a new set of delimitation bills in Parliament. These bills propose three major changes: expanding the Lok Sabha to 850 seats, redrawing constituency boundaries across the country, and implementing 33% reservation for women, which could translate to roughly 280 seats in Lok Sabha alone. On the surface, this looks like long overdue reform. But the controversy comes down to one critical question: what population data will be used? India's current distribution of Lok Sabha seats is still based on the 1971 census, when the population was about 54.8 crores. That's less than half of what it was in 2011. Based on the 1951, 1961 and 1971 census, Lok Sabha seats were fixed at 494, 522 and 543 respectively, when the population was 36.1, 43.9 and 54.8 crores. Now that translated to roughly 1 MP for every 7.3 lakh people in 1951, 8.4 lakh people in 1961 and about 10 lakh people by 1971. In other words, as India's population grew, each MP came to represent more people. But the balance across states was still broadly maintained. The freeze changed that equation. Introduced during the emergency and later extended until 2026, it was linked to population control. States like Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka and undivided Andhra Pradesh invested heavily in healthcare, education and family planning, bringing their fertility rates down from above 4 in the 1970s to around 1.6 to 1.8 today. That's well below the replacement level of 2.1. There's a real concern that if seats were redistributed strictly based on population, these states would lose representation precisely because they had succeeded. So the freeze acted as a safeguard so that other states could control population. But over time, the demographic gap widened. Between 1971 and 2011, South India's population grew by 11.7 crores. Now in the same period, Uttar Pradesh alone added 11.15 crore people. Bihar added nearly 6 crore more. Today, UP accounts for roughly 17% of India's population, while Tamil Nadu accounts for just 6%. Now, there are two scenarios. One, the bill says the government is likely to rely on the 2011 census, the last one that was conducted. In a Lok Sabha of 850 members, based on the 2011 population data, Tamil Nadu would increase from 39 to 50 Lok Sabha seats. But if its current share was preserved, it would have been 61 seats. That's a relative loss of 11 seats. Kerala would go up from 20 to 23, but fall short of the 31 that it would have had under a proportional model. So basically, it's losing 8 seats. Andhra Pradesh and Telangana together would rise from 42 to 59, but still fall short of 65. That's losing 7 seats. Now Karnataka would increase from 28 to 42, but still lose out by 2 seats compared to the proportional expansion. Meanwhile, the gains are concentrated elsewhere. Uttar Pradesh would jump from 80 to 138 seats, gaining 58 in total, including 14 more than its proportional share. Bihar would rise from 40 to 72, gaining 10 extra seats beyond proportional allocation. Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh would also see significant gains along with Delhi. In percentage terms, the Hindi heartland share of Lok Sabha seats would rise from 38% to over 43%, while the southern states' share declines, even though they gain seats in absolute numbers. This is not just expansion, it is redistribution. And this impact is not limited to the southern states alone. Smaller northern states like Punjab, Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand, as well as northeastern states, are also likely to be at a disadvantage in a purely population-based model. Because in all these cases, slower population growth translates into relatively lower political weight. Now, the second scenario is what Amit Shah told the parliament, that all states' share will be uniformly increased by 50%. This means the current proportion of seats based on the 1971 census will stay the same. But remember, this is not on the bill. This is just an oral assurance given. Now to another aspect of the delimitation bill that's equally concerning. While the Lok Sabha is being expanded significantly, there's no proposal to increase the size of Rajya Sabha. India's parliament has 2 houses for a reason. The Lok Sabha, the lower house, represents the people, and its strength depends on the population. Meanwhile, the Rajya Sabha, the upper house, represents the states, and it's meant to act as a federal check that ensures that states are not completely overrun by the sheer population numbers. The Rajya Sabha also acts as a reviewing chamber, where laws passed by the Lok Sabha can be examined, debated, and if needed, delayed or pushed back. In other words, it's one of the key institutional checks in India's parliamentary system. But that balance depends on relative strength. Right now, the Lok Sabha already has more than twice the strength of the Rajya Sabha. If its size increases to over 800 seats, that gap widens even further. And that has real consequences. If the 2 houses disagree on a bill, a joint session can be called, where every MP gets 1 vote. In that scenario, a much larger Lok Sabha can effectively override the Rajya Sabha. The same imbalance plays out in elections for the president and vice presidents, where MPs from both houses vote. So in effect, one house becomes significantly more powerful. Opposition leaders have also asked why so much power has been vested with the Delimitation Commission. The bill says this commission will decide how the exercise will be carried out. Seeing how institutions like the Election Commission have acted in the recent past, it's no wonder that confidence is really low in yet another commission.